Watch this jet take off. Clean rotation, gear up, climbing away into the California sky. Now look closer. There's no canopy, no helmet, no one inside. This fighter flew itself, and according to the company that built it, there was never a person on the ground flying it by remote either. From its very first flight, the aircraft was its own pilot. Back in 2020, one of the most famous names in technology, Elon Musk, stood on a stage in front of a room full of Air Force officers and said 6 words that sounded at the time like science fiction. The fighter jet era has passed. For decades, the story of air power was the story of the pilot. The steely-eyed human in the cockpit, the best of the best. That story is now being rewritten. And it isn't a prediction anymore, it's a signed contract. On June 17, 2026, the United States Air Force awarded the first production deals for fully autonomous, AI-piloted fighter drones. Less than 4 weeks later, one of them fired a real missile for the first time. This is how the age of the lone fighter pilot began to end. The empty cockpit. Meet the aircraft leading the charge, the Fury, built by Anduril, a defense company that didn't even exist a decade ago. What's staggering isn't just that it flies without a pilot, it's how fast it got here. Anduril took the Fury from a blank sheet of paper to first flight in 556 days. For comparison, the F-35 took more than a decade. This is a jet about half the size of an F-16, topping out near the speed of sound, built to carry air-to-air missiles. And built from day one to think for itself. On June 17, 2026, it and a rival drone were ordered into production. On July 15th, the Air Force fired a live missile off one of them for the first time. The empty cockpit isn't a concept car anymore. It's going to war. Why it exists. So why would the world's most powerful Air Force hand the controls to a machine? The uncomfortable answer, it's running short of people and short of money. As of 2024, the US Air Force was short roughly 1,850 fighter pilots. You can't recruit your way out of that overnight. Training one takes years and millions of dollars, and the jet he climbs into can cost 80 to 100 million more. Meanwhile, China is turning out fighters, missiles, and air defenses at industrial scale. Against that, America can't win with a handful of exquisite, expensive jets. It needs mass. A lot of aircraft, fast and cheap. That's the whole idea behind these drones. Don't replace the F-35 with something even pricier. Instead, build a huge fleet of affordable, AI-piloted wingmen. The target is around 1,000 of them that multiply the punch of every crewed fighter. And here's the math that makes generals smile. The Air Force wants each drone to cost less than a third of an F-35, a target of roughly $34 million or below, though real production prices aren't confirmed yet. If an enemy has to burn a $1 to $2 million missile to kill a drone and you can field 1,000 of them, eventually the numbers are on your side. The microsecond. But affordability is only half of why this works. The other half is speed. Not the jet's speed, the mind's. Every fighter pilot is trained around an idea called the OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, act. Whoever completes that loop faster wins the fight. A superb human pilot can run the cycle in about 2 to 4 tenths of a second. An AI runs it in microseconds, thousands of times faster. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't feel fear. And it can pull turns so violent they'd knock a human unconscious. The Secretary of the Air Force put it about as bluntly as a defense official ever has. If the human is in the loop, you will lose. He wasn't dismissing pilots. He was making a point about time. You can have a human supervising, watching, authorizing. But the instant a person tries to hand-fly the moment-to-moment fight against a machine, the clock beats them. In a knife fight at 1,000 miles an hour, a few tenths of a second is the difference between firing and being fired on. the road to the AI pilot. This didn't happen overnight. It came out of a decade of demonstrations, each one more unnerving than the last. It started in a simulator. In August 2020, DARPA ran a tournament called the Alpha Dogfight Trials, pitting AI agents against each other and, in the final, against a real F-16 pilot flying a simulator. The AI, built by a small team called Heron Systems, beat the human 5-0. Afterward, the pilot said the machine flew in ways no person could survive, with no hesitation and no fear. Keep this part straight, because it matters. That fight was in a simulation. Not real jets. Real metal came next. Between December 1st and 16th, 2022, a specially modified two-seat F-16 called the X-62A Vista flew for more than 17 hours under full AI control, with a human safety pilot in the back seat who could switch it off at any second. He never had to. Then, in September 2023, came the milestone that rewrote the books. The first live dogfight of an AI-flown jet against a human-flown F-16. Real aircraft, nose to nose, closing to within 2,000 feet at a combined 1,200 miles an hour. The safety pilot never intervened. And in May 2024, the Secretary of the Air Force himself climbed into that jet and let the AI fight while he rode along. His verdict afterward was careful, and more impressive for being honest. Against a pilot with 2,000 to 3,000 hours of experience, he described it as essentially a draw, and added that against a less experienced pilot, the machine would have won outright. The AI didn't crush the best humans, it matched them. That was 2024. The fleet and the brain. Today, that lineage has hardened into real aircraft, and there are two of them. On one side, Anduril's Fury, carrying its missiles on external hardpoints. On the other, the Dark Merlin, built by General Atomics, the first of the two to fly back in August 2025, which hides its weapons in an internal bay, making it harder to catch on radar. Both are built around the job the Air Force calls the missile truck. Here's how that works. A crewed fighter, an F-22, an F-35, or the new F-47, hangs back and plays quarterback. It sends its drone wingman forward into the dangerous airspace to take the long-range shots, while the human stays out of reach. The drone absorbs the risk. The pilot stays alive. But the airframe is just the body. The real weapon is the brain. The AI flying these jets is a system called HiveMind, from a company called Shield AI, which, not by coincidence, bought the very team that won that first alpha dogfight back in 2020. HiveMind learns to fight the way a person never could, by grinding through millions of simulated battles, rewarding whatever wins. And its killer feature is this. It doesn't need GPS, and it doesn't need a radio link back home. Jam its communications, and an ordinary drone goes blind and useless. A HiveMind drone just keeps fighting on its own. The Air Force even built an open standard so it can pull one company's AI brain out and drop in a better one without buying a new airplane. The jet might fly for a decade. The mind inside it can be swapped every couple of years. What no one talks about. Now the honest part, because the headline, including the one on this video, oversells it. Start with that word, ended. No official document anywhere declares the fighter pilot obsolete, and the people building these drones are careful to say so. The real doctrine isn't replacement, it's teaming. The human is on the loop, not out of it. He sets the objectives and authorizes the shots, and the AI executes them. These are not machines roaming the sky deciding on their own who lives and dies. A person is still in the command chain, still making the call on the big decisions. That nuance is the truth, and it's arguably more interesting than the myth. And the technology is not finished. On April 6th, 2026, one of the Dark Merlin prototypes crashed seconds after takeoff in the Mojave Desert. The autopilot had miscalculated the aircraft's own weight and balance. The jet was a total loss. Testing resumed about 6 weeks later, and the production contract still landed on schedule. But that crash is a blunt reminder that this is the bleeding edge, not a finished product. And America is not doing this alone. China is flying its own loyal wingman drone, the FH-97A, with specs still largely estimated, not confirmed. Designed to swarm alongside a two-seat version of its J-20 stealth fighter, acting as the swarm commander. Russia has its S-70 Okhotnik B, a heavy stealth drone, though its program has been badly set back by the war in Ukraine. This isn't just an American revolution, it's a race. The bigger picture. Step back, and here's what's actually happening. The Air Force wants around 1,000 of these drones flying alongside its next-generation fighter, the F-47. If it gets there, it will field more combat aircraft than America has flown in the entire jet age, for a fraction of what an equivalent fleet of crewed fighters would cost. Trace the line of the fighter, from the Wright brothers through the Mustang and the Sabre and the Raptor. 120 years of putting a braver, better-trained human in the seat. And it arrives, for now, at a cockpit with no one in it. The most advanced fighter in this story isn't the one with the best pilot. It's the one that doesn't need a seat at all. So did an AI drone just end the age of the fighter pilot? Not exactly. The human isn't gone, he's moved. Up and out of the dogfight, into the role of commander. The quarterback who decides, directs, and authorizes, while the machines take the hits and take the shots. But make no mistake about what is ending. The era where winning meant a lone human in a cockpit out-turning the enemy by a few tenths of a second while his body screamed under the G-forces. That era is closing. More and more, the best pilot in the sky won't be a pilot at all. So here's my question for you. When the fight comes down to a fraction of a second, do you want a human making the kill decision or the machine that's 1,000 times faster? Tell me in the comments, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.